minutes left with our lawmakers. All right, but just this idea that things come out late at night, and often because someone wanted them to come out at 3 in the morning, knowing darn well that no one's going to get a chance to read them. Is there any move afoot to see that that doesn't happen? And make
I don't know if I necessarily agree they come out on purpose at 3 in the morning. Nobody, no staff, no one wants to be there at 3 in the morning. They want to be done, but there is definitely political things at play on why we roll over into the night, and no one likes it. And
well, you were pointing out that there are legislatures that don't permit that.
Correct, and I think there is a reason for it. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's right, though.
Well, let's talk about what you, in the 4 minutes we have left, with appropriations. And I was going through the whole list, and it turns out I highlighted one that you felt is particularly germane to southwestern Connecticut, which is these fare increases for the buses and the trains, and they're not going to happen, at least in your version of this.
Right, we heard a lot from many constituents on not raising, certainly the fares into New York City. We're trying to encourage people to not drive their cars, use mass transit. Why would we increase the fares? And I know that we each got a number of emails and phone calls from people on that. And I think that's a very important initiative not to raise the fares this year.
There is a lot of advocacy from Republican and Democratic legislators from Fairfield County on this issue, and it's critically important. And it's, there's a bigger story at play here, because for 15 years, this part of the state has been advocating for more attention on mass transit. We had some success in 2005, and we've got new train cars, and we've got a new station or a new in Fairfield, and a new maintenance center in New Haven, and these were great advances. But there are more than $120 million worth of upgrades and projects on our 36 stations in Fairfield County, and there's no money to do the work that needs to be done. There's no money to invest in the continued maintenance of our rail infrastructure. And so this year, not only did we eliminate the 4% increase for next year, so we said to mass transit people, we hear you, and we know that keeping rates down is extraordinarily important. But we also created a new section in the DOT budget called the Transit Improvement Program. It's not really a line item because it's a new area of the budget that is dedicated to mass transit funding of a variety of programs. And believe it or not, that didn't exist in our transportation budget. We have a bridges section and a roads section, but we really needed a section that says we're going to put this money into mass transit.
But what do you say to your constituents, particularly I would think the Republican side, say, we've got real budget problems here. What are we doing spending money? Here was a chance to bring in some funds. Yeah, and spending money on infrastructure.
How can you not spend money on infrastructure, though? The infrastructure is the backbone of our entire state. We say we want to emphasize education. Well, quite literally, people can't get to their schools and to their universities if the roads and the highways and the bridges and the train tracks aren't moving them there. And if we don't keep our infrastructure, all of it, in a state of good repair, you strangle the state's economy and people's ability to move.
Right, but I think your question was, why not increase the rates? And I think they're already very high. For anybody that takes a train into New York or commutes monthly, it's already a very high fee. The service has not been great. I mean, I used to ride the train for a number of years, commuted, and a number of my friends do. It didn't seem the common sense thing to do, to raise the rates right now, particularly when the roads are clogged. You don't want to drive into New York. I mean, people do, but why would you do that? So I think it's a way of encouraging people, and I feel very strongly, and most of us did, that it was the wrong time to raise the fees.
But also keep in mind, it's the 38 million people will move on Metro North this year, and it is the least subsidized rail system in the country. So it's already very heavily paid for by the riders. Most rail systems in the country and the world subsidize mass transit, and it is the least subsidized rail system. So raising rates just lowers the government's commitment to mass transit.
We have 30 seconds. Gas, you cut.
Yes.
You put a cap on the taxes.
At $3.
You're both happy with this?
Yes, it should be lower, but that's okay.
So it's going to save us pennies. Is it more just a gesture?
I'm not unhappy with it. I don't think it was a huge achievement on our part.
I've got to cut you off. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us as well. Stay tuned. The news continues.